to Home Sweet Loan, and my name is Kristen Eck, your host, and I am so excited to have Nicole Brescia here with us. She is a Florida native, currently residing in Jacksonville, and just to tell you a little bit about her, because we have to share all the good stuff, Nicole graduated from UCF with her bachelor's degree in criminal justice and spent 11 years in the banking industry. It's a long time to be in the banking world, helping her team master the art of selling intangible products to clients. And that's really hard to do. Coming from banking, I know the same. It's hard to sell somebody a checking account, right? At that point, she transitioned from banking to a real estate agent and closed 111 units her first full year. I mean, did you sleep?
Not a lot.
And she worked with one of the largest hedge funds in the United States, contributing to the growth of their portfolio, buying investment properties. And at that point, she moved into the role of director of expansion for a real estate team, transitioned into coaching other real estate agents. And that has been your passion now for the last several years. You are a real estate coach, and that's what excites you. You wake up every day doing, right?
Love it. Absolutely.
So welcome to our podcast. We're so excited to have you and learn a little bit about you and the market and how you're helping agents be successful. This is so exciting. And so I know you're so passionate about it. So many agents can get value out of what you provide to them. So we're going to ask you some questions, learn a lot about what insights you have and what you're talking to your clients about every day. So tell me, who is your ideal client? Who is the ideal client for you to coach?
So I love coaching agents that have the drive but don't have the systems built. So hot mess agent comes in that has the passion for helping buyers and sellers, doesn't have systems, profit and loss statement, doesn't understand how to reach their goal. I love fixing problems.
Yeah, so there are definitely a lot of agents that kind of just go out. I mean, there's a lot of loan officers too, so it's just natural for the type of business that we're in, being 100% commission, but don't have that focus, don't have that guide. What am I supposed to do on a daily basis? How do I get out there and get this done? So that's awesome. And roughly, how many agents are you coaching right now?
Right now, I have about 38.
That's a lot. All right.
It's a lot, but it's my one thing. So I am in it every day. I have clients from across the country, so I'm able to...
So you are all over the country in lots of different states.
Yep, so I can look at kind of trends that are happening in different parts of the country and forecast for other clients to prep for it.
Okay, and you coach not only, correct me if I'm wrong, teams, but also individual agents.
Absolutely. So from single agents to big rainmakers that are looking to figure out how to hire, how to train, lead, motivate, all of the above.
Awesome. Well, I want to get into a little bit about the market. The market's a hot topic, right? So interest rates and sales and all of that. So tell me a little bit about the trends and the shifts that you're expected to see, or that we've seen and that you're expecting to see in the market.
Absolutely. So first, let's define what a buyer and a seller market is. And I think that's a big thing to understand. So a seller's market is when there are more buyers out there than there is inventory. So the drive and the demand is high. When we go into a buyer's market, and I'll talk a little bit about that, that is when there are more buyers out there and more homes. So if the seller's not going to offer them something, they'll just move on to the next home.
Okay.
In real estate, ever since the Flintstones have had rock homes, our market shifts every 7 to 10 years, regardless. Due to COVID, though, we stayed in a seller's market for an extra 2 years. So sellers had unprecedented equity in their home that has never happened before. We may say it'll never happen again, to utilize and take advantage of.
Okay. So you're saying that typically we would have seen the market shift probably about the time that COVID came, but because of COVID, we've stayed a little bit longer in this market that we're in. Sellers think that they can sell for much higher. Buyers are now unwilling to pay that, and now we're in that shift now.
Yeah, so we're transitioning, and again, like I mentioned to you before, I have clients from all over. So I have in like Boston, New Jersey area. So there's still high demand for housing. So you're still seeing multiple offers, over asking price. And then you have places like pockets in Texas that they're already at 7-8 months inventory. completely different market. So it's shifting. It's just going to take its time to get through the whole country.
Yeah, and I will say that, in our market and the agents that I'm speaking to, days on market are definitely longer than they're used to. So now there's all this panic of, oh my gosh, how do I get this house sold? Why is it not moving? And the sellers are calling me now, and we're getting to the point where listings are expiring. And, that hasn't happened in many years. So if you're a newer agent coming into the market and you have, you found yourself getting listings, you weren't having to come up with that struggle of an expired listing, right? I mean,
no, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because what I'm seeing a lot of just across the country with agents is we've been in a market for 12 years where you could put a sign in the yard, put it on MLS, market it a little bit, and it was going to sell. And so
taking pictures with your cell phone kind of thing. Right?
Taking pictures with your cell phone. You see a lot of those fun pictures on there. And regardless of what they did, the demand was so high, our economy was so well, homes would sell. What we're seeing now is, by a lack of skill by the agents, they are changing home values because their go-to is, if we don't have showings,
Drop
it's
the
overpriced.
price.
Drop the price.
And actually, it's called a price improvement these days.
Price improvement these days. But they're price improving their seller out of netting what they should, because they don't understand how to interpret the market and how to properly wait or do the things that are needed in this market.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing in our market. So it's interesting to hear that all over the country, obviously it looks very different. And that's what's interesting about your role, right? I mean, you get to coach a very different, broad scope of agents. So you've got some that are still in that quote unquote COVID environment where things are just coming off the market. And then you've got the agent that you have to coach that's getting your, the panic call of, oh my gosh, the seller won't stop calling me because I can't get their listing sold. So that's got to be a very different challenge of how to coach them differently.
It is, and it's not, right? If you understand how to interpret the market, you can sell and buy. People are always going to buy and sell, but understanding what the market is doing locally and how to have the right conversations is the key.
And having that data, that's super important. So how can an agent prepare for the potential changes in the market? Rates changing, housing inventory, economic conditions. How are you coaching the agents around this?
I mean, so this is a tough time in our country. We've got inflation at an all-time high. We have interest rates higher than we've had in a very long time. And at the same time, home values are high. So one, I keep talking about it because it is so important, understanding your local market. I have a lot of my clients, we use a data tracker. So every Monday, it's on their calendar. We'll talk about calendars. They're pulling data locally so they can see, do we have more homes pending in the last 7 days than are active? If we do, we're in a seller's market. Or is it vice versa? And how do we use that data to have conversations with buyers and sellers?
The data is, like you said, so important. And I think it's really important for the agent to understand it. So when you talk about data, what kind of data are you seeing in comparison to new construction versus residential real estate? What's the difference in sales, and what's up, what's down?
Well, new construction's up, and there's reasons for that. New construction packages has a package that you can't compete with. So no closing costs, they pay for your closing costs, rates that are...
They're really not paying for your closing costs. Let's put that out there. But yeah,
they're not paying.
Yeah.
But and to the consumer, when inflation is at an all-time high, job security, all of that, people want to keep their money in their bank account. And so what's one way to do that is by going to new construction. However, that's a huge thing. If you as an agent can mirror new construction and you can offer, instead of slashing the prices. So a really good example I like to say is, when you're talking to a seller, take that $10,000, for example, and put it in your calculator over 360 months, the life of a loan, and a 30-year loan, and just divide it. It's $27 plus some interest. Are you as a buyer going to wait to purchase a home in 1 to 2 years to save $27 plus change? Or if the incentive was there for you to keep that $10,000 in your bank account and still be able to make a purchase, that's the mover and shaker that's going to make a buyer make a purchase.
Yeah, the affordability piece is so big. So of course that's the side that I see. And so with the incentives that these builders are offering, they're offering the no closing costs, they're offering these incentives with these crazy low interest rates. It is super important for agents to know what's out there product wise, because we actually have a product that does the exact same thing that the builders do, but for resale. So, making sure that you understand the products that are available, because you can essentially accomplish the same thing as an agent helping a seller with an existing home. Affordability is obviously the biggest problem here.
It's huge. And let me piggyback off of that. Agents are not in enough relationship with their lenders. And I think that is a big thing to talk about. Every lender is not the same. Every homeowner is not the same. Every buyer is not the same. And so when you're out there, you need to make sure you have relationships with multiple lenders, that you understand the products that they offer, because what's good for me is not good for you. And
not every lender offers the same.
Not every lender offers it. And right now, especially with listings and agents, some of them are not thinking in that way. You need to latch on to an agent, a lender that has these products to offer to help you sell the home.
Absolutely. That's a big piece of adding value to their seller, right? Not only their seller, but also potential buyers that are in the marketplace. So, speaking of buyers, what do you think agents should be thinking about and saying when a buyer says, I want to wait to buy, I'm going to wait for rates to come down? Because there's obviously a lot of that out there.
Love that. I love that question. That is something that agents get all the time. So I'm going to wait for home values to go down. I'm going to wait for the rates to go down. I just touched with you on the math of just the $10,000 right there. So waiting for home values to come down. Our market is not crashing. We're not going
back. A lot
back.
of people that think that, right?
They think that the world is coming down, the sky is falling, all of that. That is not happening. We're not going to have a repeat of 2008 happen again.
People have too much equity for that to happen.
Too much equity for that to happen, and those were different circumstances that created the environment in real estate for that. Now, rates. You're going to wait until the rates go down. You and everybody else is going to. So what happens the minute the rate goes down? Everybody's going to flock out and make a purchase, and it's going to create competition
and drive the prices.
So you've done nothing but waiting, and the carrying cost of renting and everything that you've done in between, you've missed the boat.
Yeah, we do a side-by-side comparison of waiting to buy, and there's a statistic out there that says for every 0.5% interest rate that it comes down, there'll be 5 million new buyers into the marketplace, right? So 5 more million people looking. Now prices are driven up, so now maybe you're looking at a house that was $350, but because the demand is there, now the price of the house is $370. And so when we look at the numbers comparison with with rates coming down to comparison of the price going up, the payments actually really the same, maybe a little bit less actually.
But you spent more waiting.
But you've spent more waiting. Your down payment's more. Your insurance, your taxes are more. You're paying more. So all of it, I think a lot of it goes back to data, right? So if the agent can articulate the data to the buyer, then they become the expert, and they can actually talk to it, and then the buyer understands. When an agent says, no, now's the right time to buy, and you don't have anything to really back it up, now you just look like you're trying to sell a house, right?
100%. And there are things, and I know that you have the no closing cost refinance.
Yeah.
So there are products.
That'll help people.
Again, we are moving into a skill-based market and a need-based market. So if you're going to buy and sell right now, you have a need. Your family grew. You are an empty nester.
You're getting divorced.
Marriage. All of those things. And those play a big part into it, but understanding the products and the tools that help you do that now and still take advantage are what get you ahead.
The reality is there will always be people, like you've said, everybody will, there are always going to be people looking to buy and sell.
Yep.
So you just have to find them and, you dig for those people because they're out there. It's happening.
Yep. So one other thing I want to touch base about a buyer's and a seller's market is I think there's a misunderstanding of a buyer's market. So you hear people say, I want to wait for it to be a buyer's market. Right now, and I talked to you about that extra 2 years of unprecedented equity that's there. Right now in this market, we know that we're not going to go back to 2.5% rates, right? Those days are not.
They were
here.
Nice days.
They were great days.
Yeah.
They're just not here anymore. So when you hear a buyer say that they want to wait for that, as an agent, you have to be equipped to talk through that with them. Because right now, we can do things with the equity that the sellers have, still have the sellers be very profitable on their home sale and help a buyer. as we continue to shift down and down, all that means is that sellers' home values, they go down some, right? And so when you're going to make an offer, you're not going to be able to pull closing costs, buyer agent compensation, and other things that help keep money in a buyer's pocket to make a purchase. So being able to understand that now is a really good time for a buyer to purchase a home.
Yeah, to get what they want.
Absolutely.
They can get closing cost credit. They can get rate buy down. I mean, almost every contract I have, that's how we're structuring things because it's, again, about affordability. So we're trying to get them to afford the payment. How do we do that? The only way to do that is to really buy the rate down. A $10,000 price drop versus a $10,000 credit towards buying the rate down is vastly different.
Huge.
And again, that's what the agent needs to understand in educating the client and getting them with their trusted realtor lender to be able to compare those numbers.
Yeah, so sellers win and buyers win in this market, and that's important to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's shift a little bit to agent mindset. So, I think, again, our industries are very similar in the sense that it is easy to wake up in our industry and say, I don't feel like really doing anything today, right? Because nobody's really asking you what you're doing. Nobody's tracking you, unless you have a coach like you, of course. But, talk to us about how you coach your agents around mindset.
I mean, mindset is huge. And before we can have a mindset conversation, what's important is agents need to understand what their goal is, and they need to understand the path to get there. So
goal setting.
Yeah, goal setting. I mean, it is imperative. Again, skill-based market. This is not the market we were in before. You need to understand where you want to be, and you need to understand what it takes to get there. So building what we call an economic model that shows them here's where you want to end up financially, and what, based on your conversions and how you do business, is the path that you need to get there. How many conversations do you as an agent have to get a lead, and how do you convert that lead? So understanding the goal is huge, and that helps with mindset, because a lot of agents, they get up, like you said, and they work. Well, what is your goal? What is the end result? They don't know in a day and in and out, so they're just working. They're just working without a goal in there. So
what activities need to be done every single day, and how many of those activities need to be done to get to the goal that they have? And their goal could be 30 transactions. It could be 130 transactions, right? It's just all about breaking it down as to what's their why and what's important to them. But having the number of conversations broken down. How many conversations do I have to get to that goal?
And also, because agents are so fast moving, they think they have, in November I still have time to hit my goal. You don't. So we coach a lot to what's called the disappearing fourth quarter. So you're hitting your goals from January through October, and you're done, so that they can pend and close in that year. So also understanding the time it takes and what you have to hit your goal is important for mindset. Otherwise, you shoot for the stars and you don't know how to get to the stars. And so
then you're halfway through and you're like, oh man, I'm not on track to meet my goal. And then how do you back up?
Then they shut down and they miss it completely.
Yeah. In conversations, you've mentioned to me the book, the 12-week year. Or is that what it is?
Yep, the 12-week year. I love that. So a couple things there. So you work 12 weeks, you take a week off. To help you kind of reset so that you can show up at the highest level. But now in this market, what I have a lot of clients doing is creating a very mini micro goal for yourself. So real estate is one of the only industries that you can build a big life as massive as you want, and you can still be in control of your time when you know how to do it. Right? So a lot of times we'll build goals where they're going to lead generate, Monday to Wednesday or Monday to Thursday, and nothing goes on their calendar on Friday. And that's their mini reward. I've worked in my time block, in my calendar, to my goals, and I've earned the right to do whatever I want Friday, whether it's work on your business, not in your business, because there is a difference.
Yeah.
Take it off, be with family, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, no, that's a great reward system. And if you really do focus the other days of the week and time block and break out your activities and actually do your activities, you can really actually accomplish that. It's hard to do, but that's where having the accountability partner is.
Sure.
That's you're their accountability partner. If you don't have a coach and you are trying to do this, kind of on your own, you can find an accountability partner, but it's got to be somebody who's got the same vision and the same goals that you have, obviously.
Yep, smart, hungry, humble. They have to be in line with you or it doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are some tips for keeping an agent motivated? So, like, you've got an agent that really wants to meet their goal and they have this big goal. How, what suggestions or tips do you give to keep an agent motivated?
Well, understanding the win. So in the psyche, when you have a calendar and you say, not just make calls or time block, but my goal is to do this. You got to take the thinking. That's a big thing. So a lot of agents come into the office and they sit and they're like, I know I need to do work. I'm here, but I don't know what to do. So by the time their brain thinks of what they need to do, they're exhausted and they don't get to the doing part. So they're in the thinking. So really setting your calendar to know lead generate and lead follow up is different. They are not the same. What are my 4 pillars of business? What are the 4 things that I'm going to do that are going to generate and build relationships, as this is a relationship business that we're in, and being able to mentally check it off. I have achieved my goal. I have a lot of clients that do 75 units and they're done by 2:00 in the day. They may have appointments, but they have done everything and they have 2 days off a week.
And that's impressive.
That's the difference
between an agent who's absolutely got it
working aimlessly,
yeah,
or understands where they need to be and how to get there.
Yeah, it's definitely very different skill based agent. But obviously, we all want to be the agent that can be done, at 2:00 and is crushing it, right? And has time to spend with their family and isn't working 18 hours a day because they don't have the right systems in place. That's the burnout, I think, that's really big. And it's you get to that level of production and then you've got this burnout. So we've talked in the past maybe about like when to scale back, when to trim the fat that we talked about. Like what is your suggestions around that?
So in this market, you see a lot of agents. I'm gonna cut my admin. I'm gonna cut my lead spend. I'm gonna cut my marketing. All of the things that now you need to lean into more than ever. So there's a difference in cutting the fat to be lean and cutting the fat to the bones where you cannot operate properly. And so be careful, because now is when you lean into a partner, you lean into an accountability, a coach, someone that's going to help you stay task on task every single day, every single week. Not when you cut it out and go nilly-willy. That's a very dangerous. And so this market, it's not you're going to thrive or survive. You're going to thrive or you're going to die if you don't dial it down and understand the market.
Yeah. So we've talked about the right activities, right? And high value activities, or we should talk about high value activities, because I think, like you said, a lot of agents will go into the office and say, okay, I'm here. Like that's like, check, I did it, right? Or I did an open house, or, I held my brokers open, or whatever the case may be. What are some of the high value activities that you think that agents should be doing? And some of it may be dependent on what their focus is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and so we talked earlier about you should have 4 solid sources of lead gen. So that could be your sphere of influence, your past clients, farming, which we'll touch in a second. It could be anything. FSBO expires. It could be events. What you need to do in this market, though, is we can't surf. We have to scuba dive. So, for example, if you're going to do an open house, you need to do a 7th level open house. And there's an MREA book out there that really talks about, it's not just going and doing the open house, but it's all of the 10 days before the lead up, the lead up to it. Farming, that's a huge one. So I hear a lot of times I will get a client and they'll say, well, farming doesn't work for me. I've done postcards quarterly and it doesn't work. Well, that's not enough. Again, this is a relationship market where you have to build relationships. So to farm, you need to calculate how many homes sold in the last 12 months and how many homes are in that neighborhood. And when you divide that out, you should get a 10% turnover rate or higher. So that means that there is enough movement in and out of that community where you farming and spending money in that neighborhood is going to give you a return. and it can't just be postcards.
Yeah.
It's
Very
relationship
deliberate.
building. You have to add value. So one of the things that a lot of clients were building for 2025 in their farming is every month you're sending a postcard and you're attaching a vendor for homes, a painter that's going to offer a discount to the farm, something that is of value to them, and then quarterly events in the neighborhood, a food truck, something that gets you out in front to make your non-Mets become your Mets and bring them into your world.
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially if you've got competition in the neighborhood, right? So if you've got, every neighborhood has a couple different agents that are, mostly the ones that have the signs in the front yard. So how are you setting yourself apart from your competition in the neighborhood? And those types of activities are obviously what is going to drive that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about so much. The last thing I really want to touch on is productivity. So, a lot of being productive is having the right tools and systems in place to actually be productive. So what tools are you seeing your successful agents use, and what are you recommending?
There's tons of tools out there, right? It's using it, and it's what's going to work for you. So CRMs, people ask, what's the best CRM? They're all the same. What are you going to dive into and use? And in this market, when we are exhausted as lenders, as agents, you need to make sure that you're working your 20% and leveraging that 80%. Again, don't cut the fat to the bone. You cut it to be lean and still be able to grow your business. And you should look at a 20% growth year over year in business. That is a slow and steady right trajectory, not just jumping haphazardly. So a CRM is huge so that you understand the database, what's in there, what's a lead, what's not. Marketing is huge now. So how are you marketing, and are you tapping into YouTube and all of the things that are the future of real estate? And that's probably
I can't be on like MySpace anymore.
You can't. I've tried to log in a few times, and it says that my password's wrong. I'm determined, and yet I don't know that I would find a buyer or seller on there. Right. But yeah, understanding what is coming and how to use technology and how to build relationships, local to local businesses. If we're in this industry suffering, don't you think that local businesses are? How do you build relationships and tap in and highlight businesses to help them grow? That is in turn going to give you business.
Yeah, I love that. And the social media piece is obviously very big. Everybody's trying to still think. Some have mastered it, obviously. Some are still trying to figure it out, and it's a learning curve. And so those that are diving into it to figure it out are obviously having success, and that's a big piece of it. So most of the agents, I think I've talked to you, recently. A lot of your agents that you coach are up this year, right?
Yeah, I have clients having their best year ever,
and that's awesome.
And that's because they didn't listen to the noise. They were able to differentiate between what the media is saying and what the data in their market is telling them, and they put the noise out, and they had a goal. And they didn't work 7 days a week. They weren't the mom and dad that's at the dinner table with their laptop, but they worked with intention, and they actually had more time back, and their business grew.
Yeah, listen, hey, I suffer of that too. It's there's a lot of times I'm working through trying to figure out dinner and all that, and a lot of it is really about the intention, the systems. So I love all of that. I love that you are seeing some of your agents have their best year. I had my best year, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, we can continue to grow. And I just think the biggest piece that I can add to my agents is the value. How can I add? I wake up literally every day like, how do I add value to an agent today? What can I do to add value in their business? What can we do to help an agent grow? If I'm helping my agents grow, the agents that I work with, then I'm growing, right? So it's just a byproduct. And so that's kind of how.
That's huge, though. I'm glad you said that, because all humans aren't created equal. All lenders, all agents are not. And there are lenders out there that are very cookie cutter, and they're churning and burning onto the next deal. The ones that are like you, that actually care and put the time and build a relationship with your agents, they're not all out there. And so when you find something like that and go out there and search it, you need to hold on to that and build together.
Yeah, I love it. Nicole, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today. I think you've shared so much good information, and there's so much we could talk about.
Sure.
I feel like we could continue to talk
We
for
could.
hours, right? So I'd love to maybe invite you back on to dive into some of the things that we've talked about a little bit deeper. I know you have agents that really focus solely on certain activities. I'd love to learn about those types of things. So if you'll come back, we'd love to have you back.
Would love to.
Yeah, and we'll get Nicole's information out and share it with you. Thank you so much again. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. Thank you.